Welcome to our channel. If you haven't done it already, please subscribe.
Scooby and his friends were visiting Phantom Gulch, a real-life western ghost town that had been turned into a theme park. But when the gang got to Phantom Gulch, they got a big surprise. It was completely deserted. It really was a ghost town. "Where is everyone?" Daphne exclaimed. The gang didn't have to search for long. The citizens of Phantom Gulch were getting ready to leave the town for good.
"Sorry, folks,"
said the sheriff, Matt Taff.
"Some kind of ornery ghost has been chasing everyone out of Phantom Gulch."
"That Phantom Cowboy is one mean feller,"
Gertie, the owner of the saloon, said.
"and if you know what's good for you, you'll skedaddle too."
"Phantom Cowboy,"
gulped Shaggy. Scooby didn't like the sound of that.
"The Phantom Cowboy has been bothering us for a couple of months. We had the worst haunting a few days ago,"
explained Sheriff Matt. The sheriff told the gang that the creepy cowpoke rode a wild, snorting ghost buffalo. He screamed like a crazy prairie coyote during a full moon. The visitors were so scared, they all left in a hurry.
"You can't have a tourist attraction without tourists,"
Sheriff Matt said sadly.
"The owners of Phantom Gulch had to close down and sell the land to the rancher next door. Now, we're all out of work."
"Come on, gang, let's see if we can get to the bottom of this mystery," Fred said. They spotted a man who owned the ranch right next door to Phantom Gulch. His name was Harry Parker. He was busy trying to train one of his horses.
"Shucks, kids. Them ghosts are mighty fearsome creatures. If I was you, I'd get out before they come back,"
Mr. Parker exclaimed.
"They're always spooking my horses."
Fred, Shaggy, and Scooby tried to make friends with Mr. Parker's horse, but it snorted and made like it was going to clobber them with its hooves. Despite Mr. Parker's advice, the gang wanted to investigate Phantom Gulch. While the girls went to the courthouse to look for clues, the boys decided to check out the saloon. But on the way there, Scooby spotted something that really scared him.
"Roast racks,"
Scooby gulped.
"Roast racks, roast racks. Like racks of roast, Scooby?"
Shaggy laughed.
"Sounds delicious. Where?"
Scooby frowned.
"Roast racks,"
he said again, acting like a ghost.
"Oh, ghost tracks. Zoinks!"
Shaggy exclaimed. Inside the courthouse, the girls had found something interesting. The deed to Phantom Gulch. "That's strange. According to this, Mr. Parker bought the town last week and sold it to Mega Company Industries yesterday," Velma said. "Now, why would he do that?" "Good question," Daphne answered. "Let's go ask him." Daphne tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. "Jeepers, it's locked." Then they heard the shuffle of feet on the other side of the door and a low, ominous laugh. Someone, or something, had trapped them inside. "These are hoof prints," Fred noted as he inspected the tracks. "They could belong to the ghost buffalo. Let's see where they lead." Oddly, the tracks led right into the saloon. Once they saw there weren't any ghosts there, Shaggy and Scooby thought it was pretty cool to be in a real-life Old West saloon.
"Barkeep,"
Shaggy joked.
"we're two tough, ornery hombres. Give us a couple of tall root beers, partner."
Scooby giggled. "Shaggy, stop goofing off and take a look upstairs. Maybe someone left a clue in one of the rooms," Fred said. Shaggy slowly went up the stairs to the second floor. But suddenly, the Phantom Cowboy came charging down the staircase, riding his rip-snorting buffalo.
"Zoinks! It's the ghosts! Run!"
Shaggy cried. The cowboy spun a lasso over his head and tried to rope Shaggy in. Shaggy zoomed out through the double doors to the street. Meanwhile, back at the courthouse, Daphne and Velma had pushed a roll-top desk under a window to escape. "We've got to get out of here and warn the boys," Daphne said as she climbed through the window. Velma clambered after her. "It's going to be dark soon," Velma huffed as they crawled through the window. "I want to find the guys before the sun sets." Outside on the main street, the ghostly cowboy had lassoed Shaggy and was dragging him through the dust.
Like, help!
Shaggy screamed. "Jinkies!" Velma cried. Fred and Scooby were trying to rescue Shaggy, but the buffalo was too fast. Just as they were about to turn a corner and disappear from sight, the cowboy shouted,
Leave here now, or I'll come back and get you all.
By the time the gang reached the corner, the Phantom Cowboy was gone. And so was Shaggy. "Jeepers! Now what do we do?" Daphne asked. "Well, it's getting dark," Velma replied. "We need some sort of light. I'll bet there are some lanterns in there." Fred pointed to an old blacksmith's barn down the street. "Let's take a look." Sure enough, they found a pair of lanterns. Scooby was feeling sad. Velma tried to cheer him up with a Scooby snack. But Scooby wasn't interested. "Don't worry, Scooby. Now that we've got some light, we're sure to find Shaggy," Daphne offered. Scooby gathered courage and barked,
Retro.
It didn't take long for Scooby to catch Shaggy's scent. He bounded down the street after his friend. Suddenly, Scooby stopped. He'd found a clue.
A Rendrich.
Scooby declared proudly. Then he pointed down the street.
Rishray.
The gang followed Scooby to an old bakery and a tailor shop. If Shaggy was inside one of them, then the Phantom Cowboy could be nearby too. "We'll look for Shaggy in the tailor shop," Daphne said. "You boys check out the bakery." When Daphne and Velma tiptoed into the shop, their lantern blew out. Velma quickly fumbled for a match. "Hurry, Velma! It's creepy in here without a light," Daphne whispered. Velma lit the lantern and handed it to Daphne. In the sudden light, they saw they were surrounded by strange figures. "Jinkies!" Velma cried. Then they saw that the strangers were just Taylor's mannequins. Phew! Scooby-Doo and Fred searched the bakery. Scooby sniffed the floor near the oven. All the flour and baking powder made him sneeze. Just as he sneezed, a big flour sack in the corner jumped. Scooby tiptoed over to the sack and poked at it with his paw. Then, nervously, he untied the top. Suddenly, Shaggy leapt out of the sack, covered in flour.
Ruh-roh.
Scooby cried.
Raggy's a roast.
Once Scooby realized Shaggy was not a ghost, they hugged, getting flour everywhere. "All right, you two," Daphne commanded, pointing to a nearby water trough. "Time to clean up." Scooby and Shaggy happily agreed. Then they ran back into the bakery. There were leftover cakes, pies, and other goodies in there. "Man, like there's nothing like some good eats after you've had the wit scared out of you," Shaggy declared, chomping on a cupcake. But then, out of the darkness, emerged the scary rider on his fearsome buffalo. The gang barely got out of the way before the ghosts thundered past. Then, the cowboy turned his mount around and headed back for another charge. The gang ran for it. Cackled the cowboy as he rode away.
I'll give you all one more chance to leave this place. Now go!
Then the ghosts disappeared again. "Let's follow those buffalo tracks," Fred said. "We need to catch those ghosts when they're not expecting us." "Zoinks!" groaned Shaggy. "I was afraid you were going to say that." The buffalo tracks led the kids out of town. After a while, they spotted a campfire burning on a hill. When they got close enough to get a good view, they realized the campfire wasn't on the hill, it was inside it. "It's a pueblo," Velma explained. "Long ago, certain Native American tribes used to build pueblos to live in." "It looks like our ghost friends have moved in," Fred noted. Long ladders were leaning against the side of the pueblo, so the gang had an easy time climbing up. Fred peeked inside. No one was around. He motioned the others inside. The gang searched for clues. Velma found an old mural painted by elders of the tribe that had once lived there. Velma explained, "This mural tells of the coming of the settlers and the extinction of the buffalo. According to legend, a mighty phantom will rise up with his ghostly buffalo and curse the descendants of the settlers forever." "But if this cowboy is a ghost, why does he need a campfire at night?" Fred asked. "Like, who cares?" Shaggy exclaimed, hugging Scooby tightly. "Let's get out of here before that creepy cowboy comes back."
Too late,
bellowed the ghoulish cowboy. He and his stamping, snorting buffalo sidekick appeared out of nowhere. The gang scrambled back down the ladders to the bottom of the pueblo. The chase was on. Back through the desert, through the town of Phantom Gulch, the cowboy rode after them, laughing, whooping, and hollering all the while. The ghosts didn't let up until they'd chased the kids all the way back to the Mystery Machine. When he thought he had finally scared the gang away, the cowboy reared up on his buffalo and rode off in a cloud of dust. But they weren't about to give up so easily. "The only way we'll get to the bottom of this is by catching the ghost. And I've got an idea how," Fred declared. He looked at Shaggy and Scooby. "Of course, we'll need some bait." "Like, no way, Fred!" Shaggy cried. "I've had my fill of creepy cowboy curses for one night." Shaggy and Scooby finally agreed to help catch the ghosts for a Scooby snack. Dressed like Old West lawmen, Shaggy and Scooby found the Phantom Cowboy and his buffalo at their camp just outside of town. "Deputy Scoobert, do y'all see what I see?" Shaggy drawled in his best cowboy voice. "A couple of mangy varmints having a fire without a campfire permit. I think we should run these rascals into the pokey," Shaggy continued. "Wouldn't you all agree, Deputy Scoobert?" "Right, Marshal Raggy," Scooby answered. The Phantom Cowboy and his buffalo gazed at them in surprise, then growled. "Run, Scooby!" Shaggy cried. They fled through the desert, over brambles, and around big boulders. They tried hiding behind cacti and running with the tumbleweeds. But no matter what they did, the Phantom Cowboy and his ghostly buffalo stayed right on their heels. With no other choice left, Shaggy and Scooby started climbing a small hill. Still, the ghosts were right behind them. When Scooby and Shaggy reached the top of the slope, they realized the hill suddenly ended with a sharp drop-off. They were trapped. "Oh no!" Shaggy cried. This made the Phantom Cowboy laugh with evil delight.
I told you all the vamoose from these parts.
The ghost grinned.
Now it's too late for you.
But just as the Phantom Cowboy and the Ghost Buffalo were about to nab Shaggy and Scooby, the villains fell through a hole in the ground. It was a trap. A hole that Fred, Daphne, and Velma had camouflaged with weeds and grass. The hole was carved into the roof of the pueblo to let smoke from campfires drift out. The rest of the gang was waiting underneath the hole with a big net ready to catch the villains. The Phantom Cowboy and the Ghost Buffalo dropped right into it. Now let's see who's behind this mystery. Fred pulled the mask off the Phantom Cowboy. It was Mr. Parker, the rancher who lived next door to Phantom Gulch. The Ghost Buffalo had actually been his ornery horse in disguise. Mr. Parker scared away all the people in Phantom Gulch so he could buy the property for cheap, Velma explained as the state troopers arrived to take Mr. Parker away. Then he sold the town for a huge profit to a big company that wanted to build an even bigger Western amusement park.
I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids and your dog,
sneered Parker. Once the judge finds out what Parker did, the town will revert back to its rightful owners, Daphne said, smiling. Soon, the townspeople who worked at Phantom Gulch returned to their old jobs. Visitors started coming back, and the town was a lively, old Western tourist attraction again.
We can't thank you enough for solving the mystery and saving Phantom Gulch,
said Sheriff Matt.
You kids are real Western heroes. Like shucks, Sheriff. 'Twarn't nothing any real Western heroes couldn't have done, Shaggy drawled, as long as they had a partner like Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Dooby-Doo!
Thank you for watching our videos. If you haven't done it already, please subscribe. Here are some videos we thought you might like.